day in the life of a ski teacher. Entries are pouring in for our Ford Fiesta.
Be spokespersons for products. He tells us that he already has 3 bona fide offers from major advertisers who want Reagan in their commercials. The president certainly has the experience for the job. In the 40s, 50s, and 60s, he did ads for a number of products. And a recent research study shows that Reagan would make an effective pitchman. In this survey, 1,000 adults were asked to name which celebrity they thought would make the best product spokesperson. Well, Bill Cosby was first in the poll, but believe it or not, Ronald Reagan rated second. If he decides to answer the call of the advertising world, he would be the very first ex-president to plug products.
Well, I know it's been a struggle for everybody lately, but I want you to know everything's going to lighten up from now on.
Well, while President Reagan ponders what he'll do when he leaves the White House, Meredith Baxter Birney is thinking about what she's going to do when she leaves Family Ties. This is the sitcom's last season, and soon Meredith won't have the security of a hit primetime series. However, the actress isn't particularly worried about losing her very cushy safety net. Here's the inside story from Meredith herself.
So Butchie and Tom climbed over the fence and started down the road to the lake. They knew that Mr. Peabody would be there, and he'd let them use his boat.
How could the woman who's played Elise Keaton for 7 years on one of the most successful shows on television have a problem? Well, the answer can be summed up in 7 words.
Elise is much nicer than I am.
Yes, Meredith Baxter Birney is afraid that she may be typecast as being too nice.
I can't help it, I just feel guilty.
Hey, I do too.
Over the past few years, it's been no secret that Meredith has felt that all her talents weren't being used on Family Ties.
I'd like to do something good. Trying to find something good is tough. There are lots of films around. You just want to do work that's substantial and you don't have to apologize for later.
But Meredith is afraid that too many important people in Hollywood can think of her only as a motherly character, like on Family Ties, and that may prevent her from doing other things like getting into the movies.
I think I'm at a difficult age for film because I'm not established in the film world. It's hard to make the transition. Very few actors have done it from television to film.
To gain some credibility as a dramatic actress, Meredith has begun to take some serious roles, like the part of Winnie, a mentally retarded woman in an NBC television movie that ran last week. And she's also been acting in some plays with her husband, David Birney. One of those plays will be presented on PBS later this season.
I've missed you.
I've missed you too.
But the unusual thing about Meredith as an actress is that she's not that concerned about her success in show business, not so long as she has her family.
The business tends to revel in building people up and bringing them down and covering every aspect of their successes and failures. Having a family and making it the utmost importance has been my salvation, because I don't rely on ratings or a newspaper to tell me whether I'm any good. I get that from the people I love in my family, and that's where I get my sustenance.
Give me a big kiss. Daddy and I'll be up to tuck you in a bit, okay?
With Family Ties going off the air after this season, Meredith Baxter Birney is trying to take her career in a new direction. But if that doesn't happen, she still has something that's much more important.
Our family is a strong unit, and I think you take that strength and you go out, and it gives me, I guess, the ability to just say, okay, you do what you want to do. I have something I'm going home to that's real, because the business itself is not real substantial.
I'll be back with more behind-the-scenes stories from Hollywood in just a moment. We're going to go on stage with some of the top names in British rock and roll, including George Michael, Elton John, and Ringo Starr. You'll meet the male star of Gorillas in the Mist and Cocktail. Brian Brown will reveal why making a movie with gorillas was a terrifying experience. Plus, you'll find out why Joan Collins has decided to compete with her sister Jackie and become a novelist. Stay with us. Now let's uncover what's going on in the recording world off the record. George Michael's album Faith has been one of the top-selling albums of the year, catapulting the singer into superstardom. And we hear that with his newfound power, Michael has become almost a dictator when it comes to managing his public image.
But I gotta think twice before I give my heart away.
Our sources tell us that George Michael is so concerned with his image that he insists on absolute control over the way he appears to the public, whether it's on stage, television, or on T-shirts. A recent party thrown for Michael was described by one guest as more programmed than the invasion of Normandy. Only 2 photographers were allowed into the event, and only 1 was permitted to shoot the star himself. And no pictures of Michael could be released to the press until the pop star personally approved them. We also hear that before Michael was interviewed for Fox Broadcasting's program The Reporters, he spent an hour in makeup. Then, when he went before the cameras, he would only let them shoot the left side of his face. Why is George so determined to control his image? Well, we're told that one reason is because Michael was overweight as a child, and he's very concerned with his appearance. Another reason is that George supposedly wasn't very happy with the way his image was shaped back when he was with the pop group Wham! But now all that has changed, and we may never see the right side of Michael's face again. Meanwhile, George and a number of other British recording stars like Elton John, Phil Collins, and George Harrison have appeared in some all-star concerts to raise money for charity. And now these performances are out on home video. If you buy the tapes, the proceeds will be going to benefit charities. Here are some highlights from 2 of the concert videos so you can see whether or not you want to add them to your collection. One of the biggest rock and roll charity events is the Prince's Trust Rock Gala. The annual extravaganza is a pet project of Prince Charles, and it stars the royalty of British rock. The most recent of these shows available on video cassette is the 1987 concert.
If I was a sculptor, but then again, no, a man who makes potions in a traveling show.
Elton John's performance is one of the highlights of last year's Prince's Trust Gala, but the moment that sparked the biggest response in the arena was the on-stage reunion of ex-Beatles George Harrison and Ringo Starr. The underlying goal of the Prince's Trust Gala is to raise money for disadvantaged young people in the United Kingdom, so it seemed like the perfect time for Ringo Starr to dust off this golden oldie. Another high point in the home video is a medley of Motown hits by Phil Collins and Paul Young. Also available on home video is the 1987 all-star British concert called Stand By Me. Proceeds from the event and videotape sales go to AIDS research. And once again, some of the top names in British pop music are on the bill.
1, 2, 3.
In addition to George Michael, the tape features Elton John, the Communards, and Boy George. They are presented both on stage and in interviews.
I mean, people, whether they be in high-risk groups or not, I'm sure most people think that Even, I mean, it's a kind of nightmare in the back of a lot of people's minds, but no one really thinks it's going to happen to them. It's like anything else.
Rock and roll artists have come under fire in recent years for suggestive lyrics, overt violence, and sexuality in their videos. But at the same time, many of the top stars have become involved in charity fundraisers like the Prince's Trust and Stand By Me. They've changed the battle cry from sex, drugs, and rock and roll to We Are the World. And in the process, they're turning out some pretty good music. While Elton John has been very helpful in raising money for charity, he's also lent a helping hand to Julio Iglesias in the singer's hour of need. Elton and Julio recently had dinner together, with John picking up the $1,000 tab. But that's not the helping hand I was talking about. Iglesias can easily afford $1,000 dinners. We hear the reason the two singers got together is so that Julio can get some advice from Elton on hair transplants. You see, Julio's hairline is receding, and the rumor is that he's afraid he'll lose his Latin appeal along with his hair. So he reportedly is considering hair transplants and got the lowdown from somebody who's had the procedure, Elton John.
If it takes more than me, let's call it quits.
Well, we don't know what advice John gave Julio, but we don't get the impression that Elton exactly likes his own transplant. Even after he had the surgery done, he's rarely appeared without a hat. Well, the top movie at the box office last week was Gorillas in the Mist, which stars Sigourney Weaver and Brian Brown. Filming Gorillas in the Mist was no easy task, and no one is happier than Brian that his sweat and anxiety have finally paid off. Here's the inside word from Brian himself.
Break off one of those stems and pretend to eat.
Most Hollywood productions are made on a studio soundstage or under controlled conditions on location, but not Gorillas in the Mist. Director Michael Apted insisted that they shoot the film in the wilds of Africa among actual wild gorillas.
Okay, Sigourney, just stay there. You'll be fine.
For Brian Brown, those first few days of filming among the gorillas were some of the most exhausting and downright frightening moments he's ever spent in his career as an actor. Were you prepared for the incredible conditions that...
No. I don't think any of us were. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if we'd known about it. 90% of the crew would have said no, I think, after what they had to go through. Because it was physically demanding. I mean, a daily routine of walking for something like 8 hours up mountains, you know, longer, 8, 10 hours with the, walking with the gorillas up the mountains was through jungle and was very difficult.
What was the experience like the first time you actually saw these incredible...
I was very scared on the first day going up, very apprehensive. I didn't know anything. I mean, all you're used to is seeing them in the zoo, they look ferocious, movies have made them look ferocious, all that sort of stuff. And the first time I saw them and knew I was going to be amongst them, I just didn't know what to expect, and I was scared. After that first day, I never was scared again, because I realised that they weren't aggressive, they weren't out to harm me, they weren't out to eat me. In fact, they treated us with a great deal of disdain, really, and we would have to just, and then when they wanted to be playful, you could be playful with them, and when I look at the movie now, I'm pretty surprised at just what we did.
Were you at all, though, at any point fearful? I would think you have 2 daughters at home and a beautiful wife. Did you think of the consequences of...
Oh, yeah, I kept saying on the way up, I kept saying, well, you better be right about this, Michael. I mean, I got a wife and 2 kids that are, like, I better not get killed. They're very similar in the way they treat their kids and the way you treat your own kids. I mean, they are playful with them. The kids jump all over them and pick their noses on them, and I mean all the usual sort of stuff, and they slobber over them and all that stuff that goes on. They're very, very like how we behave with our own kids, all of us, and, I didn't actually see the faces of my kids in those gorillas, though.
I should hope not. Did it change your life, though, in fact, this film?
It changed certain perceptions. I mean, as I said, when I went up there, I was fearful of them. I had a perception of the gorilla as a ferocious thing that had been built up to me, and it's untrue.
There's still more of Hollywood Insider coming up. Joan Collins will reveal why she ripped the lid off the world of television with her very first novel. Don't go away. Now let's investigate what's going on in the movies behind the camera. The inside word is that 1960s cinema queen Doris Day is going to make a comeback to motion pictures. The actress hasn't made a film since 1968, when she did With Six You Get Egg Roll. But our sources tell us she's just been signed to star in a movie called Sleeping Dogs. The feature will be a marked departure from the goody-goody roles that Day is most famous for. Sleeping Dogs is a very heavy drama. Doris will play a mute who is sentenced to a mental institution for a crime she did not commit. In case you're wondering why the actress disappeared from the big screen for 20 years, it's not because she didn't have any offers, and it's not because she retired. Doris says she simply could not find any scripts that she liked, that is, until now. Meanwhile, Joan Collins is preparing to make her exit from the small screen. Her Dynasty contract is up in January, and it's very likely that Collins will not return to the show next season, if it's renewed at all. So what are Joan's plans for the future? Well, she started a whole new career writing about all the tawdry and sensational things she saw while working in television. Here's Joan with the inside story. Joan Collins is the star of what some say is the highest-rated television show in the world. But lately, Collins has been unhappy about the way Dynasty is going.
That's what's been missing in Dynasty for the past 2 or 3 seasons, is the fact that there hasn't been enough conflict. And obviously, it's all very nice that people are getting along and they're happy and fine, but I think that this is a show that people like to see some conflict. And Linda and I used to have it for the first 2 or 3 years, but then, you know, we need fresh conflict.
So Joan is talking about leaving Dynasty, and to make sure that she has at least one other source of income, Collins has become a novelist. Her new book called Prime Time is a potboiler about the seamy side of the business of television.
About 4 years ago, I went off on a skiing holiday with my children and some friends. And everybody, I would get up in the morning and make breakfast, which is what people think I don't do, but I do. I would get the children off on their skis, and I would sit in the ski lodge and decide to read or watch videos. Well, after a couple of days of that, I got bored, and I started to write. And for the rest of that holiday, I wrote about 10,000 words until when I got back to Beverly Hills, and I had quite a bit of the novel, about 2 chapters.
Those few days of writing became the basis of Joan's book, Prime Time. But she had been thinking about her novel way before that fateful ski trip.
I've always had a rather fertile imagination, and I've always been somebody who liked to write. I've been writing since I was a child, and I've written all kinds of little stories and things. And when I was making Dynasty, and at the time that it was the really #1 show in America, I thought this is quite fascinating, the kind of thing that goes on behind the scenes in a prime time soap opera. And so I started to make notes and ideas about things that went on and used that as the background, the main background for Prime Time.
At 55 years old, Joan Collins wants to be her own boss. She plans on writing more books, producing and starring in her own movies, and if she stays on Dynasty at all, it'll be on her own terms.
If I come back, it will not be on a weekly basis. It will only be now and again. Just, you know, maybe she goes off to Europe or Acapulco, which is what I'm going to do, and comes back, you know, once every 3 weeks. I will be able to say what I want to do, and I think I've earned that. I've been an actress for over 30 years, and I think there's a time in your life when you say, right, it's my turn now.
When we come back, I'm going to fill you in on the latest fad that's being embraced by trendy Hollywood stars, refrigerator makeovers. Stay with us. You know, Hollywood stars are often on the cutting edge of self-improvement fads, whether it's some new type of bodybuilding workout or an expensive psychotherapy. Well, the latest health fad to hit the entertainment industry is called the refrigerator makeover. An article in the October issue of Self magazine explains what the fridge fad is all about. A number of entertainment personalities have hired a food guru named Yolanda Bergman to restock their refrigerators with nutritious foods. These celebrities include the Beach Boys' Brian Wilson, Carrie Fisher, and Kate Jackson. Since Hollywood stars have such busy lifestyles, many of them don't have time to put together a healthy diet. The article itself reveals what the refrigerators of these on-the-go performers looked like before the food guru helped them get their act together. For instance, you discover that China Beach star Dana Delaney's refrigerator was as bare as old Mother Hubbard's. About the only thing to eat were mayonnaise and some fruit. Before his makeover, Paul Stanley of the rock group Kiss had a fridge full of ice cream, Chinese takeout, and junk food. And Moonlighting's Alice Beasley had stuffed her icebox with fatty foods that were making it hard for her to lose weight. Luckily, with the help of the food guru, these refrigerators have been reformed. And now the Hollywood stars await the emergence of yet another spiritual leader to guide them in their constant struggle for perfection. We hope you'll join us next week on Hollywood Insider, when you'll find out the surprising way Tom Hanks learned to be funny for the film Punchline. Plus, Linda Kozlowski will reveal why she's outgrown Crocodile Dundee. I'm Sandy Newton. Thanks for joining us on Hollywood Insider, the show with the inside line on what's happening in Hollywood. We'll see you next time.
I gotta break this date. No, David, don't call her. I have to. You don't go with somebody this good on the day you're fired. Don't break this date. Why not? Because I think right now, feeling the way you're feeling, this is exactly what you need.
What I like about David is that his life is so together. We're going out to celebrate some big promotion he got.
Well, that's a relief.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I think so.
Come in. Come in.
As we stroll along together, holding hands, walking all alone. So in love, are we two?
We believe this magic when baby, we both know we're playing a dangerous game. Running a secret flame, meeting in shadows, ignoring the signs that we're loving on borrowed. Loving on borrowed time, yes, we're baby. We're loving on borrowed time, meeting in shadows, ignoring the signs that we're loving